Right now, we're going to catch up with Rom Reddy, South Carolina businessman, has tossed his hat in the race with the gubernatorial primary, just about 5 weeks away or so. And looking forward to watching how this all shakes out. The polls, the surveys, they are what they are at this point and juncture of the campaign season. You've got a good portion of the electorate still very much undecided on where we'll go with the state when it comes to the next governor, as Governor McMaster will be term limited out at the end of the calendar year. Mr. Reddy, thanks so much for spending a little time with us here on the Grand Strand this morning.
Good morning.
Hey, a couple weeks ago, you had made an appearance here in Horry County, and one of the headlines that caught my attention from the last time you joined us, a statement that you made that Horry County is one of the most corrupt counties in the state of South Carolina. Can you explain what you meant when you said that?
Well, what's happened here in Horry County is there is no accountability for state dollars that are going to local municipalities. The states created the local municipalities, and then they took their hands off the wheel. And so these local municipalities are getting our money. Remember, it's our money. Now, I like to say people are in politics are addicted to OPM, other people's money. But it is our money going into these local municipalities with no oversight. So what has happened is these monies are being dispensed in ways that if taxpayers knew, they would be shocked. And the local spending, forget about state spending that has doubled since 2017, local spending has doubled in the same period. I mean, as recently as 2019, local spending for school districts and municipalities like Horry County was around $19 billion. This year, it's $30 billion. And that's what's driving property taxes. So, somewhere we got to say enough is enough. These politicians will never do it. They will not do it. And you have to say, why wouldn't they do it? They wouldn't do it because once they get in office, their agenda is driven by the donors and the special interests. Think about this. 10 years ago, we were in the bottom at education, roads, median family income, violent crime, all of them, we were at the bottom. What's happened in the last 10 years? We're still at the bottom in the major metrics, but our taxes have gone up like crazy. And deals for donors, DFD, we just had a year ago, $500 million office building lease to the biggest donor of the Republican Party. What are we doing? Like, really, what are we doing with other people's money? It's got to stop. And I think there's a bigger issue, if I might add here, and the bigger issue is people have to decide on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration, are we going to be passive spectators and just watch what's going on? Or are we going to fight to go back to the principles of the Declaration, which says that our rights come from God, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and government's job is to protect those rights, not take all this money and weaponize government against the citizen, which is what's happening.
A couple things there, and that's only in addition to the fact that our state legislature has promoted a 45% increase in spending for this year's state budget, just along the lines that when it comes to spending. I do have a question related to systematic reform, because you made mention of something on the Autry Benton TV show with my good friend Autry Benton a while back. But before we do that, I guess just to play devil's advocate, right, the local officials will tell you, Rom, due to the increase in population and the fast-growing area that we live in, we need to provide the necessary government services through public safety and education, which is why our budgets, have blown up so much, as you indicated before. What's your response to those sorts of comments? Because I'm sure you hear them from the local folks who will tell you that.
Well, if you go back in the same 10-year period, they like advertising all this stuff, but our population has increased by roughly 3.5% a year. And it is nowhere close to the doubling that's happened. And more importantly, a lot of this doubling has gone to administrators. For the first time in South Carolina history, the administrators in the school systems now exceed the teachers. And the average administrator pay is $50,000 greater than the teachers. So look, if any one of your listeners can say, my life is better for all this spending, education is better, roads are better, my life is better, things are less expensive, you know what? You got a lot of choices here. if people are saying enough of this nonsense, the part of the problem is we keep putting these people in office with the wrong skill set. These people are used to making laws and I think Nancy May said something on the other day. She said, I submitted 65 bills, number 2 in the legislature. How many became laws? 0. So if I, as an executive, if I have 65 at-bats, I better get 50 hits. So we have never had a CEO or an executive running this place like you would run an entity. And so we keep putting people to say nice things on TV in office, and we get the results we get, which is nothing other than more spending. I'm really surprised in Horry County. I saw some poll the other day that says, I think Pamela or whoever, one of the deep state is apparently attracting a lot of attention there because they do a lot of advertising. And I'm like, do the citizens really want this? More of the same? Because if you want more of the same, then you got a lot of choices. If you say it's time for something different, then you don't. Because I don't take any money. This is the first time in this generation, in our generation, that someone is running that says, I can't be bought. I am not a function of special interests or donors. I wake up in the morning, I don't think about which donor I have to help. I just think about, us, citizens. And what am I doing for our citizens?
Talk with Rom Reddy. Sorry, Leanne. Just one follow-up here real quick. And in terms of the systematic reform that you're calling for, because we have a number of lawmakers who have been around the legislature for a long time. And when you mentioned with Autry just a moment ago, or a couple weeks ago, that you feel like there's too much control over these committees when it comes to longtime legislators who hold these chairmanships, because they ultimately, even if a committee approves, we're talking about how the sausage is being made, even if they approve a proposal to move forward to the state House or the full floor of the state Senate, the chairman has ultimately the control as to whether that legislation sees the light of day. You feel like that needs to change?
Yeah, think about Horry County. You guys have, I don't know why y'all keep voting him in. Luke Rankin, he's an ex-Democrat. He's utterly useless, I can tell you that much. And he should have been out of there a long time ago. But, they work the donors. They do whatever they need to do to stay in office. So he controls the Judiciary Committee, which is a very powerful committee, and it goes by seniority. I've never heard of this nonsense. Seniority? Which means the only way to get him out is for Horry County to vote him out or for him to die. So it gives him incredible power, which is unconstitutional, because when power is concentrated on one or two hands, our founders said it. They said it in the Federalist Papers. It's tyranny. And what the Senate rules, it's a simple Senate rule change. It's not a constitutional amendment. It's not even a legislative change. The Senate simply has to say, no more seniority. We're going to vote people in as chairman for 2 years, and then you're out. And I think you'll see a revolution. Florida does that. And so these people come in and serve for 2 years, and they say, I want to be consequential. And we're not thinking, this is what I mean. There's no leadership here. No one can name a leader of this state. And look at all these people who are running. They're not leaders. They've never led anything. Name one of them who's led anything at all. Norman says, I'm not a career politician. Well, he's been there for 20 years. If that's not a career politician, where do term limits start? At 30 years? That's what I mean. The voters are cynical. They see people saying all these things, and they're like, we are fed up with this. We're cynical that these people are ever going to tell us the truth or go in there and do anything, because they've proven over 30 years that they cannot do anything.
We're hearing from Rom Reddy. He is a Republican candidate for the governor of South Carolina. Mr. Reddy, you mentioned a few moments ago that you would run, if you were the governor, you would run the state more like its CEO, run it more like a business. My question about that is the problem with that is you can't fire a lot of the people that you would have to work with. So some of these lawmakers in Columbia, they've been working this system for decades. They know it in and out. You'd be coming in as somebody who doesn't have that experience. What mechanism would you put in place to get those lawmakers to work with you and do some of these things you've just mentioned that you would reform?
I am the only one as a citizen. I passed judicial reform in the House with all 85 Republicans voting for it. All these caucuses that don't even talk to each other, they all voted for it. It's all about leadership. And I'll tell you, in the governor's mansion, there is power the governor has that he doesn't know how to use. He's got line item veto, which even the president doesn't have, but he cannot uphold it because apparently he can't get the support of either 1/3 of the House or 1/3 of the Senate in a supermajority state. That's not a broken system. That's broken leadership. I promise you, I will have that support. I will be in their districts. I will be in Luke Rankin's district in the very first week, telling the people there that this is a bad guy. You need to get him out. And I will reassert the authority of the executive branch because the Constitution demands it. It says 3 co-equal branches, so each branch holds the other in check. That's what the Declaration is all about. And I think we've just run away from these concepts, and we've gone to some type of a European model now, and this ruling class likes it. That's all they want. They want the flags flying on the limousine and, go in there and wear a pocket designer kerchief in their suit. And that's not what I want because I'm not, like I said, I'm the first in our generation that takes nothing from donors, no contributions. I will fix this system for good, and I'll take us back to what our founders wanted.
So, I don't think you would be offended if I say you're the underdog, one of the underdogs in the group of 6 that are vying for the Republican nomination for governor. Why do you think, since you are an underdog, why is Nancy Mace zeroing in on you and I'm going to just say slinging a lot of mud online about you? Why you? I don't think you're a bigger threat.
Because they are all seeing the internal polling. And that's why you don't see a lot of public polls. They're all seeing the internal polling, and they're realizing that people, the rank and file are waking up. The entire establishment is against me, 100% of them. You can see it in all this SCGOP. First of all, I don't go to all these events, these elitist events, but the rank and file are waking up. Like we were in Horry County the other day. We thought we'll have 120 people. 200 showed up. No one draws crowds like this. So this is 2016 and Trump again, like people looking. So these people are looking at the internal polling and they know what's going on. And they only have one weapon, which is sling mud, make up stuff. That's all they do. There's no policy. There is nothing behind them. Nancy says her policy is going to cut income tax by freezing it. Well, she's freezing it at $11.3 billion. This year, the budget is $15.6. How are you going to get from $15.6 to $11.3? So this is the same nonsense they all talk about in Congress. It's all messaging, no results. Messaging, no results. And this state needs governing and results, which is not messaging and talk.
That's Rom Reddy, once again, the South Carolina Republican gubernatorial candidate, again from the Low Country, and looking to make a push here around the final stretch and turn of the primary season coming up once again in 1 month, just about from today. Mr. Reddy, thanks so much.
We're going to win this. We're going to win this. I originally thought when I saw the reaction, I said, maybe we win it on first ballot. It's so powerful. But there are some pockets, especially Columbia, a little Horry County, actually, that favor the establishment. But I feel very confident we're going to be in the runoff here.
Hey, Ron, thank you so much for the time. We'll catch up again before the primary, so appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
One of the things that he mentioned about teachers and increases in the budget process, I know back on Friday, there were these huge May Day protests. There were 20,000 people that turned out up in Raleigh, for instance. But they forget to tell you, as he highlighted accurately, and this is a nationwide figure, I don't know what it looks like here locally or even statewide, but since the year 2000, the administrative state within our public schools has grown by 88%. Principals and assistant principals have grown by 37%, all in the while student enrollment and the number of teachers in the classroom have grown by only 8%. So when you talk about where the money is going, specifically to the public school system, it's going to the administrators and the heads of these schools and not necessarily in the classroom, per the growth at 8% as compared to an 88% increase in the administrative state, all people making well over $100,000 a year.
I mean, I guess I'm shocked because COVID happened since then. So I would have thought, if anything, that would have been a reduction.
I mean, just to
No,
keep pace with inflation, right? Is that
Yeah.
sort of that to me, that would be the bar that you have to stick with if you're talking about spending other people's money. What is inflation? All right, that's where we're going to go with the next budget, not a 45% increase. All in the while, our state-owned utility company is also going to charge you 10% more for your utility rates in the next couple of years. Everything going up. Everything costs more. Are you getting your bang for your buck is essentially the pitch that he's making to the electorate across South Carolina.